Most of the pain we carry doesn't come from what happens to us, but from the power we unknowingly hand to the outside world. We replay old conversations, cling to expectations, lose sleep over people's opinions and sudden turns in life. Yet none of these things have real force over our minds unless we let them into the deepest part of ourselves. Epictetus, one of the clearest voices in ancient philosophy, believed this was the great mistake that makes us suffer. He taught that nothing outside you can truly harm your inner life. Your peace, your judgment, your sense of who you are, unless you hand it the power to do so. This idea isn't just ancient philosophy. Modern psychology, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, was directly influenced by Epictetus's insight that we suffer not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. And once you understand this, once you see where your real strength lives, your entire relationship with the world begins to change. Epictetus taught that each of us possesses an inner faculty, what he called prohairesis, a place of clarity and freedom that nothing outside us can disturb. Later, Marcus Aurelius would give this same inner strength its famous name: the inner citadel, a fortress in the mind untouched by the world. The idea was later popularized by the philosopher Pierre Hadot in his book with the same name, which explores this stoic inner freedom in depth. In this video, we'll explore how Epictetus teaches us the art of letting go, not to escape the world, but to meet it with a mind that is calm, resilient, and unshakably free. And once you grasp what truly belongs to you, the world loses much of its ability to wound you. Epictetus begins his philosophy with a distinction so simple that most people overlook its power. He says that everything in life can be placed into two spheres: the things we control and the things we don't. At first glance, it seems obvious. But if you look closely, almost every source of frustration comes from mixing the two. What truly depends on us, according to Epictetus, is surprisingly small. Our judgments, our choices, our intentions, how we respond to what happens. These are the things no one can take away, no matter the circumstances. Everything else falls outside our control. Our reputation, the weather, our past, the bodies we inhabit, other people's emotions, and even many of the outcomes of our own actions. We treat outcomes as if they were ours to command. We believe other people should act according to our expectations. We want life to follow a script we never wrote. And so we end up fighting battles we cannot win. The wisdom Epictetus offers is not to withdraw from life, but to see it clearly. When you stop confusing what you influence with what you control, you reclaim energy that was being wasted on impossible tasks. And in that clarity, something unexpected appears: freedom, not through domination of the world, but through mastery of your own mind. If Epictetus is right that confusion is the root of suffering, then attachment is the knot that tightens around us. We cling to roles, identities, recognition, and routines we think we can't live without. We cling to how we want people to behave and how we expect life to unfold. And the moment reality moves differently, we feel personally wounded. Epictetus says this happens because we mistake external things for parts of ourselves. A criticism hurts not because words have power, but because we've tied our worth to someone else's approval. Plans falling apart devastate us because our peace depended on an outcome that was never guaranteed. Attachment turns the external world into the master of our internal state. The tragedy isn't that we care, it's that we hand our peace to forces that shift like weather. When happiness depends on what can be lost, even small disruptions feel like disasters. Stoicism doesn't ask us to stop caring. It asks us to stop confusing possession with control, and to stop believing that our well-being must follow the behavior of the world around us. People often think Stoicism means becoming cold or emotionless, but Epictetus makes the opposite point. Detachment is not indifference, it's caring without desperation. He teaches a simple but demanding practice. Show up fully, give your best effort, care deeply about people and the world. But don't let your peace depend on outcomes you can't command. That's not withdrawal, it's clarity. Epictetus gives the example of an archer. The training, the focus, the aim, these belong to you. But once the arrow leaves your fingers, the result belongs to the wind and chance. If your happiness depends on hitting the target, you'll suffer endlessly. If it depends on how you aimed, you remain free. Letting go means refusing to collapse your identity into what happens after your effort. It allows you to love without clinging, work without anxiety, and hope without fear. Most people think control creates freedom. Epictetus reverses this. Freedom begins when you release the illusion of control. Only then can you engage with life without being crushed by it. And in a very real sense, this is how inner strength is built. Quietly, brick by brick, as you stop handing your peace to the things that were never yours. Real freedom, Epictetus believed, is something built from the inside out. This is where the metaphor of the inner citadel comes in. The idea that within each of us lies a space the world cannot touch. This citadel isn't a fortress that shuts life out. It's a foundation that keeps you steady when life shifts. Epictetus learned this in hardship. As a slave, almost nothing around him was under his power. But he discovered that his interpretation of events was his alone. That insight shaped his entire philosophy. Strength, for Epictetus, is the ability to choose your response when you can't choose your circumstances. Trouble still comes, people still disappoint, plans still fail. But when the citadel is strong, these things no longer define you. He liked to say we're actors in a play we didn't write. We don't choose our role or the other characters, but we choose how we perform our part. In that choice lies our dignity and our freedom. True strength is sovereignty over your own mind, even when the world refuses to cooperate. Epictetus never expected people to live untouched by emotion. He knew anger would flare up, fear would rise uninvited, disappointment would hit us, and anxiety would cloud the mind. His point was never to shut emotions out. It was to stop them from overrunning the inner citadel. Think about anger. It rushes in fast. Someone insults you, ignores you, misunderstands you, and suddenly the body reacts before you even have time to think. Epictetus would say, the anger itself is not the breach. The breach happens when you let that moment decide your worth, your identity, or the story you tell yourself about what happened. The emotion knocks, but you choose whether it enters. The same is true with fear and anxiety. Life gives us uncertainty about the future, about loss, about change. The mind fills in the blank with the worst possible scenario, and suddenly the fear feels like truth. Epictetus teaches that these feelings come from outside the citadel. What matters is the judgment you attach to them, whether you believe the fear's story or step back and choose your own interpretation. Epictetus isn't asking you to suppress emotion. He's teaching you to create space between the feeling and the meaning you give it. That space, that small pause, is the gate of the citadel. That's where your freedom lives. Because once you realize you can feel something without letting it define you, your emotions lose the power to overthrow your inner life. Pain may still knock at the door, but you decide whether it becomes your master. But this is easier said than done. Even the great emperor Marcus Aurelius had to remind himself of these truths every day in his private journal. Because in the end, this isn't a one-time realization, it's a daily exercise. Even the strongest minds need constant practice. Epictetus's philosophy depends on a quiet, often overlooked form of courage. The courage to let reality be what it is. Most inner conflict comes from resisting this. Acceptance is not resignation. It's the beginning of strength. When you stop demanding that life match your expectations, you respond with clarity instead of panic. Acceptance requires honesty, seeing your fears without being ruled by them, acknowledging loss without building your identity around it, living in the real world instead of the imagined one. And once you stop fighting what cannot be changed, your energy returns to the only place where it matters: your choices, your character, your response. For Epictetus, freedom was never about controlling life. It was about no longer being controlled by it. We spend so much of our time chasing certainty, chasing approval, chasing outcomes that slip through our fingers the moment we reach for them. But Epictetus believed that the deepest form of strength begins when you stop anchoring your peace to things that were never yours. If you found value in this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And join us on our journey of discovering ourselves, the world around us, and the greatest minds and ideas. Thank you very much for watching.